Welcome everyone back to the channel. How you guys all doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at quite an interesting tank today. This is for pass to me, pass to you, pass to everyone. It is a tank. In this series, what I do is I go out, look for interesting vehicles that could come to War Thunder, and also to show that War Thunder is really not that dead as people say it is. That there is a lot that can still be added if Gaijin would sort their shit out and add the things in the right places where it should actually be. So what are we looking at today, guys? We are looking at Social Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, 1948 to 1952. Medium tank, 5 were built. Now that is the only rule for this series. There has to be at least one built. Not just the chassis or the turret, it has to be built. Now 5 of these were built. This is quite an interesting tank. As you guys can see, the tank looks like a T-34, because basically it is a T-34 with a bigger turret and a bigger gun. Now I kind of like this idea, because I think it gives us something different to a T-34. How it will handle, I don't know, that's up to you. But let's go look through it, read through this, and then we will show off quite a few pictures. As you can see, it's quite a nice looking tank with the large turret. There's it actually in real life, in a parade, I think it was. So, another thing, a disclaimer, most of my information that I do get comes from the Tank Encyclopedia. So yeah, you guys can go check it out on their website, Tank Encyclopedia. They also do YouTube videos. So where do I start? Okay. During 1948, a special commission was formed to examine the tactical and technology characteristics of the future of domestic built tanks, named Vehicle A, sometimes also called Type A. The Yugoslavian designers had two determines should they improve the characteristics of already existing T-34 85 Soviet tank, or design and build a brand new tank. Now we all know that can take many years to complete. And basically that's what happened. The Yugoslavian government at that time was under Tito, however you say his name, realized that to build a new tank from scratch would take too long. So they opted to upgrade the T-34-84. The main features was the weight, armor, about 28 tons, and it needed to have a stronger gun. That's what they wanted. So 3 workshops were also selected to work on the new Vehicle A project. This was Peter Priatara Drupalski from the Mandavalki. Okay, I'm not going to pronounce his name, but 3 workshops were selected. Workshops were later included. Workshops formed the 8th of August 19... Okay, I'm not going to read these names. This is all very hard to read. The first 200 some workers, but this number was increased to 400 later, even more due to the increased production, repair of tanks and tank parts. The T-34 and the SU self-propelled gun. The head of this project was Major Anthony Kirk. During the war, he worked on the Stuart M3A3 conversion using German weapons. It was also usually that the new tank was built without previous project plans, as an opposite to how such an endeavor should usually progressed. First, the designers work on plans, calculations, and proceed to production. This was to have a great and negative consequence in the later development of this tank. First thing due was to have the workers disassemble a T-34 tank in parts and then start to copy them, but without testing of material, even to do more detailed analysis of them. The lack of some materials, especially nickel, forced them to find alternative materials to use as improved solutions to this problem. So what they basically said is the Yugoslavians were unprepared for this. They just went into it. They didn't do proper planning. But I don't know. Country can't be that negligent. After the list of necessary parts was ready, production of the new modified parts began in several different workshops. The whole tank was later assembled in the Peter Dobson workshop. Okay, I can't pronounce those word names. The main armament was supplied by the Red Star the Red Star Karviana Zavastia workshop from Kaldivica. An interesting fact is that the engine was designed by Lemon Island Solida from the town of, guys, these words. The turret and the rest of the tank body was mostly made in the Doradovica workshop. As previously noted, that the final assembly was done in the Patra Doropsin, where all the parts had arrived after 14 months of hard labor working in 2 shifts, more than 14 hours per day. 5 prototype vehicles. Let's just go to the next picture. There's the 5 prototype vehicles. 2 shifts, more than 14 hours per day. 5 prototype vehicles of Vehicle A were ready to be tested. Where am I now? I keep losing. 5 prototype vehicles of A were ready to be tested. The first tests were conducted at the foot and mountain Mojidin near the capital Belgrade. The next trials were conducted with 3 tanks in the region of Modovica, that area, and 2 vehicles were used for testing of the gun. Now the article doesn't say that the gun was very successful. Technical characteristics. This tank was based on the T-34-84, so it is no surprise that that its shaped a lot similar to the Soviet vehicle. In almost all aspects, armor, gun, ruddy gear, etc. The interior and the crew positions of the Tank A were almost identical to the T-34. The driver was located on the left side, while the radio operator, who was also the machine gunner, the radio used was a British SET 9WF with an operational range of 10 to 15 kilometers, was on the right side of the hall in the tank turret. There were a commander, the gunner operator, and the loader. To gain access to their battle positions, the crew had 2 ways of entering the tank: through 2 hatch doors on the turret roof, through the hatch doors on the front hall armor. Some as the T-34, as well as the driver view hatch. Slide 2 periscopes were locations of top of the turret. Use the observatory. Now that's the hatches they're talking about. Almost all vehicles seen during display had some politicals written on them. The main armament was the Soviet 87mm Zus 53 gun, with some minor modifications done on it, such as improving hydraulics, adding a muzzle brake. Through the original Soviet ammunition was still used. 50 rounds of ammunition for the main gun can be carried inside the vehicle, and the original Soviet TS-15 sight device was exchanged for the German TZF-1, taken from captured Panzer Tank 5s, with an improved modification of ×4 instead of ×3. Maximum elevation of the main gun was 10 to +17, minus 10 to +17. Secondary weapon was also changed. The Soviet DTM 7.62mm machine gun was abandoned, and instead 2 MG42 7.92mm were installed, 1 in the hall and 1 on the turret. So that would basically, I think, be that one. It doesn't look like an MG, but anyway, maybe that's a Brownie. There you can see a nice drawing of it actually. Where am I? On the roof of the turret to be used as an anti-aircraft role. In front, armor thickness was 50 millimeters at an angle of 30, while the angled front hull, corners, sides, and rear armor was 45 thick. The whole roof, floor, armor were similar to 20 to 25. The turret was elipticated shape with frontal thickness of around 100 millimeters. That's quite thick, actually, guys. That is quite thick. With the sides 82 to 86 and the rear 60. The tank turret was narrow but higher than the original T-34. A new 500 HP V2 diesel engine, 12-cylinder engine was installed. This engine was mostly built from domestic parts, but the materials used to build it were of a low quality, which affected the engine's performance, caused many other overheating problems. Running gear was identical to the T-34. There were a lot of problems with the transmission as it was bumpy and unreliable. The tracks were 50 centimeters wide and height was more than that of the Soviet ones. The vehicle A was never used in any combat operations. They were first shown to public at a military parade held in Belgrade on the 1st of May 1950. After that, they were used for limited time for testing and training of crews. The 5 vehicles were built simply because of an entity product was too slow, too expensive, and became foreign armored vehicles had become available in sufficient quantities. More demanding reasons for the rejection of this project lies in the very way on which these tanks were built. Through several vehicles were made, each of them was a unique vehicle because there were no design plans nor calculations. Each of the 5 vehicle tanks was built, Yugoslavian Army field tested these vehicles. It was not possible to make an accurate conclusion as to whether they were successful or not. Okay, guys, sorry about that. They could not be considered as prototype vehicles for the possible future production. In order to get any useful information, it was necessary to produce several more vehicles which were too expensive. Other problems were that the vehicle A was a few tons heavier than its original plan, and the height and width did not meet the specifics, and there were too many breakdowns during testing. Generally spoke, the vehicle A did not offer any better performance than the T-34, and final decision was made to quit and development of this project. Order of 10 more vehicles were planned was cancelled. Dispute cancellations of the vehicle A project. Experiments on improving the T-34 continued for some time after that. At the beginning of March 1952, one of the vehicles was sent to the Kalarangini Military Museum in Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. Where it is still located and can be seen as a section vehicle. Was supported to be placed in the Petersburg workshop, fate unknown. 2 turrets were put on display in front of the workshop Doroviki. The rest were initially used for testing and training, but most ended up in the firing range. So that is this vehicle that's on display at the museum now at the moment there. I think that's that vehicle. There you can see it from behind. You can see the turret is a lot bigger than the original T-34. You can see there. Quite a nice looking tank actually. I do like it. Yeah, let's go through some dimensions. Length, height, width. No, it's length, height, sorry. 8.15 centimeters, 5.12 without gun. These are not placed out very nicely, actually. Okay, it's 8.15, 5.12 without gun, 2.6 meters. Okay, I see that's 26.9 inches. 16.10 inches with gun, 9.10 inches, and 8.6 inches. So then it's also 3 with width. 3 meters with width. Okay, it wasn't placed out very nicely. Sorry about that. Track width is 15 centimeters or 1.8 inches. Total weight, battle ready. So not battle ready would be 33.5. Battle ready would be 34.7. Crew is 5. Propulsion is a V12 diesel gas 400 HP bhp engine, 30 kilowatts. Speed is 38 kilometers or 26 miles per hour. Range is 180 kilometers to 114 miles. Armament is 185 3.35 inch Zeus S53. 2 MG machine guns, 7.92 millimeters. 1 Brownie or Brownie 50 cal 12.7. So the one we saw there, I think, is the Brownie. Armor 20 to 100 millimeters or 0.78 to 3.39 inches. Production number was 5. So I'm sorry about my reading of the article, but yeah, some of these words are not very easy, especially when you're reading foreign words. So I can see this coming in mid-tier for the T-34 range. And I think it'll be a bit of a difference for the Russian tech tree. I do like this tank. It's a very nice looking tank. You could even maybe bring it as a crafting event, which I think would be awesome. It'll give people really something to play for, something nice. Characteristics, I think it might just be a little bit better. Maybe a little bit better than the T-34 85. A little bit better. So you could maybe even put it as the last T-34 in the line, or put it with that T-34 in the line. Yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Sorry about the bad reading and writing, but yeah, some of these words were not very nice to pronounce. I am not from there, so yeah, it's a bit hard. Yeah, guys, that's all I've got to say on the matter. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, share, and subscribe. Keep well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.